You're the one that I've been waiting for forever. And ever will my love for you keep growing strong. Keep growing strong. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Hope that you're having a fantastic day. Today we are listening to Dire Straits with their song Telegraph Road. This is off of their album Love Over Gold, released in 1982. So, Dire Straits. The only song that I know from them is Sultans of Swing, which is just like, that's a classic track, right? Even I know that one. I don't know everything. There's a few holes in my knowledge, but that hole is filled. But Telegraph Road is one of the songs and tracks that has been recommended for quite a long time. So I figured for today's Long Song Saturday, why not travel down the road less traveled? Hopefully you guys are having a lovely day. As always, thank you so much for being here in the first place. Let's get into it. Why wait? I got nothing else to say. Hopefully you guys enjoy the video. Hopefully you guys enjoy the music. This is Telegraph Road by Dire Straits.
Well, a long time ago, came a man on a track, walking 30 miles with a sack on his back. Then he put down his load where he thought it was the best, made a home in the wilderness. Built a cabin and a winter store, and he plowed up the ground by the cold lake shore. The other travelers came walking down the track, and they never went further, no, they never went back. Then came the churches, then came the schools, then came the lawyers, then came the roads, then came the trains and the trucks with their load, and the dirty old tram. It was the Telegraph Road. I used to like to go to work, but they shut it down. I got a right to go to work, but there's no work here to be found. Yes, and they say we're gonna have to pay what's owed. We're gonna have to reap from some seed that's been sowed. And the birds up on the wires and the telegraph poles, they can always fly away from this rain and this cold. You can hear them singing out the telegraph code all the way down the telegraph road. Well, I'd sooner forget, but I remember those nights. Yeah, life was just a bet on a race between the lights. You had your head on my shoulder, you had your hand in my hair. Now you act a little cold, like you don't seem to care. But just believe in me, baby, and I'll take you away from out of this darkness and into the day. From these rivers of headlights, these rivers of rain, from the anger that lives on the streets with these names. 'Cause I run every red light on memory lane. I see desperation explode into flames, and I don't wanna see it again.
hear me out on this one, okay? Let me pull it back up. All right. So looking at this album, this is the first track on the album, okay? There's not even a lot of songs on here. This is the first track on the album. To be honest, I don't even feel like I need to hear the rest of it. Like, we may listen to it a little bit more. But, like, I feel so complete with that. Like, this is an opener, and it also feels like a closer. It feels like a complete package. The guitar is incredibly satisfying. We got Mark Knopfler. Sorry if I mispronounced the name. But Mark, legendary on the guitar. I love the whole style of this whole track. Listen to the music because, and correct me if I'm wrong, but this is just kind of at least what I felt. The track and the guitar specifically had a slightly, very slightly progressive nature. I wouldn't call it prog, but it has a slight dipping its toes into that pool. But I would say that this has like a very strong folk and country leaning towards it. And the guitar playing from Mark ventures into blues, a little taste of jazz here and there. And like I said, strong folk, possibly country elements. You know, I don't really know the difference between folk and country, but somewhere in that realm, right? And how strongly does that fit in with the narrative of the song, which I love the lyrics. I love the story. From small beginnings to desperate endings. The beginning of a small town, from literally like the very beginning, from this one person founding it, into what it would later become. Whatever Telegraph Road may be. If it's in reference to a real city, or if this is a made-up story, possibly talking about just general industrialization, or the what's the word? The populating of the West in the early 1900s, late 1800s, somewhere in that area. But this track has it all. Like I said, incredibly satisfying. Also, besides the guitar, which like I said, it's legendary. I want to talk about the piano playing. I need to see who's playing the piano. Alan Clark. I mean, you guys heard it. Alan Clark was seriously incredible and breathtaking in this track. This song goes through so many different moods, and each of them were accented so wonderfully, I would say, especially because of the guitar and the piano. Listen to the way that the chords being played on the piano, at least for me personally, strike emotional chords. It makes this track feel dramatic without feeling overblown, emotional without necessarily pandering. You know? Like, it hits really hard. Alan Clark, I mean, incredible piano playing. Just looking at some of his other work, it looks like he's also worked with Eric Clapton, Bob Dylan. I got a funny thing. I don't think I know anything of Bob Dylan. Tina Turner, Trevor Horn. That's a bit interesting in my opinion. Trevor Horn, okay. But this track is so interesting, and like I really love the way the story and the music comes together. Like, for example, let's just skip ahead to maybe about 5 minutes. I noticed something. Let's start playing here. Okay. Okay. So, as we're about to hear, at this point, we're well into the history of this city, you know, of this road. We're well far ahead into modern times. And he's talking about being stuck on the highway, which I know for a fact that many of us can relate to that. And the music, listen to the way it shifts as he talks about being stuck. He says there's 6 lanes of traffic, three lanes moving slow. Listen.
3 lanes moving slow.
Comes to a halt. Drags. Organs left by Alan. Like, you're just waiting in traffic. This isn't Audubon. This isn't Kraftwerk. You know, and to be honest, and after that, he's talking about, you know, kind of self-reflecting on work and, you know, that kind of thing. We'll get into the lyrics more. But just the way the piano's played at that particular moment, I personally can almost imagine, like, you're stuck in traffic, like you're not going anywhere. And just for a second or two, you're just kind of like pondering, you're just kind of looking back on life, like, how did you get here? Maybe not necessarily even in a negative way, but just in a way of like looking back, like, man, stuck in traffic, going wherever we're trying to go, usually is trying to go home. How did I get here? How did I get to this point in life? And listening to just Alan Clark doing this, That's what I felt. Self-reflection in the middle of traffic. In rush hour. I really, really am incredibly impressed by the piano. I was not expecting that throughout this track. And then the ending jam, the solos, Mark gets off a little bit, right? Like, and everybody goes with him along the way. The bass and drum playing. Let me come back to the Wikipedia page. The drums are by Pick Withers. You also had some nice extra percussion in there. You would get little flashes of that in the distance, especially in the beginning and near kind of like the third quarter of the song. Like, I don't know if it's maybe on congas or something like that nature, but I love that. There's a great, beautiful distance in this track. Like, if you come back to the beginning of it as it's building up, of course you got ambience here. The stage is slowly being set. And amongst all this, you also start to have crashes of thunder and lightning. And you even have that on the album cover, right? So when I saw that, I was thinking of, naturally, a storm coming through. Now, just based on the lyrics, I'm thinking of the West. And like I said, there's a word for it, but, you know, the settling of the West. So I was thinking of a storm coming over the plains. The storm, perhaps, being representative of the people who would settle in those lands. And start these new towns that would eventually grow into cities and just go from there. You know, maybe people were the storm being represented here. And then later we return and we have some more of those thunder crashes as like the love of the town, that nice small town feel has kind of gone away. And our singer, our protagonist in a sense, just finds himself kind of like sad in a sense. You know, he sees all the signs closing down and this and that. You know, it's like the end of the town, basically. So perhaps that storm is now passing. Or in a sense, maybe it's returned. I don't know. That's what I kind of feel. But let's pull it back just a little bit in the beginning here, because I think the intro of this track is also just really beautifully played. Almost orchestral-like swells in the music. I was trying to see if there is any orchestra played, but I don't see it. Let me turn down just a tad. I don't see any orchestral arrangements here. And I also do want to shout out one thing, the production. Okay? The production of this is incredibly clean, polished, refined. Everything has space. Everything is allowed room to breathe. And the production, looking really quick, there's quite a few people on here. For example, you have Neil Dorfsman, who is an American sound engineer. He's worked with Paul McCartney. He's been awarded Grammys for Best Producer. I'm just looking to see what he's also produced here. Sting, Dire Straits, Bruce Springsteen. So, you know, like, you have obviously really, really good production here. He's also worked with Bjork. And Tears for Fears. Okay, so that's incredibly, like, powerful, just those credentials, because he's able to capture the space, capture the ambience of the moment, and bring everything to life, bring the instruments and what the band and the musicians are doing to life. So I think big credit goes out to him. You also have Bob Ludwig, who's mastered this, who he's worked with Led Zeppelin, Lou Reed, Queen, Hendrix, Nirvana, Daft Punk. You got a star-studded cast. I know I keep on talking about the piano, but this really applies to everyone in the band playing right now. But I love the emotional tones and shifts, as I mentioned before. So in this part, as we are gathering knowledge on the town being built up, the music sounds positive, it sounds hopeful, it sounds optimistic. Like a new start, a new beginning, as it should. And then later, the music starts to take a little bit of a dramatic turn and shift into some more stormy events. Now let me know what you guys think, because I find this song just filled to the brim with guitar glory and goodness. Like, every single note that Mark plays is filled with meaning. There's nothing unnecessary or superfluous in here. Everything is needed to get the point across. And I just like his guitar playing a lot. In some ways, it's reminiscent of Gilmour. You know, it has that strong emotional styling. At least to me. That's amazing. See how the guitar speaks so well? Clear voiced. And I do want to say that Alan and Mark have a beautiful harmony together. For example, right here. One last little lead. Piano picks up. I feel like Mark and Alan are two of those musicians who, when they're on stage, they're looking at each other for cues, not just to find themselves, but they're also smiling while they're looking at each other because they're both having a blast up there. At least that's the energy I feel from it. Like, you know how like when two soloists are trading solos and they're just bouncing back and forth in musical conversation. And as an audience member, as a listener, as a watcher, you can see them. You can see the chemistry, and it is beautiful chemistry. I don't know about the personal relationships of, the two or anything about the band's history at all, but at least musically, I feel a beautiful harmony between them. And then this jam, like I said at the end, which sends us off, this outro, this is hard hitting. See how the storm returns, thunder? This is fantastic. He's getting down. He's getting down there. I have nothing else to say there. Also, I didn't really mention, but the singing. I really like his voice as well because his singing, it sounds just down to earth. I don't know if Mark is considered a great singer or not, irregardless, to be honest, of all of that. I just like his down to earth voice, especially in a down to earth track like this, Let's talk about the lyrics, though, just a little bit more before we end the video. A long time ago came a man on a track. So already, a track, railroad. Railroad was one of the most important inventions in expanding towards the west in America. Walking 30 miles with a sack on his back, and he put down his load where he thought it was best. He made a home in the wilderness. He built a cabin and a winter store, and he plowed up the ground by the cold lake shore. So it's not even necessarily like a great land, maybe. Because he says, by the cold lake shore. I don't know if it's a cold lake, I can't imagine. Anyways, and the other travelers came walking down the track, and they never went further. No, they never went back. So he began already to start a home, of course, for himself at first, and then other people came along, and they didn't need to go further because they found what they wanted and they needed right there. And then the chorus, I love this part, by the way. Then came the churches, then came the schools, so we're getting progression. Then came the lawyers, okay? Then came the rules. Then came the trains and the trucks with their loads, and the dirty old track was the Telegraph Road. I love that. A real sense of history here, and how you can see in the narrative everything beginning to build up, move forward. I love stories that you can follow in that sense. Then came the mines, then came the ore, then there was the hard times, then there was a war. Telegraph sang a song about the world outside. Telegraph Road got so deep and so wide, like a rolling river. I like the line, Telegraph Road got so deep and so wide, because you can almost imagine it like it was a small community. It was narrow in a sense, like in a good way, right? But then eventually, as things started happening, time started changing, that road got deeper, it got wider because it had to allow access for more people, more trucks and ore and everything going on. I just like how you can get a sense of that small time feel expanding. And then we break into a first person account, whereas before it was narrative. And my radio says tonight it's going to freeze, people driving home from the factories. And then there's 6 lanes of traffic, 3 lanes moving slow. So immediately we snapped back into modern times. I used to like to go to work, but they shut it down. I've got a right to go to work, but there's no work here to be found. Yes, and they say we're going to have to pay what's owed. We're going to have to reap for some seed that's been sowed. So before you're getting the past, the founders, the ancestors who sowed that seed, and that seed bloomed, like exploded. But what about now? Now the work is all gone. That seed and that fruit and that tree has dried up and is starting to wither. And the birds up on the wires with their and the telegraph poles, they can always fly away from this rain and this cold. You can hear them singing out their telegraph code all the way down the Telegraph Road. I also like that. First of all, the lyrics are great. I like that because, like, looking from this person's point of view, he's looking at the birds and saying, man, these guys can leave anytime they want. And I think that this is relatable in a sense that not everybody has well, it could be anything, finances, the freedom to move to a new place. He may have been born here and he's worked here all his life. He's grown up here. And even though he sees the work is drying up and the town is perhaps starting to die a little bit in a sense, maybe it's all he knows. And he doesn't know how to, like, leave. In a sense, maybe he's stuck. I'd sooner forget, but I remember those nights when life was just a bet on a race between the lights. You had your head on my shoulder, you had your hand in my hair. Now you act a little colder, like you don't seem to care. Now, he makes it sound like he's talking about, a partner, but I think that this is a metaphor for the town itself. And then the ending, but believe in me, baby, and I'll take you away from out of this darkness and into the day, from these rivers of headlights, these rivers of rain, from the anger that lives on the streets with these names. Because I've run every red light on memory lane, I've seen the desperation explode into flames, and I don't want to see it again from all these signs saying, sorry, but we're closed. All the way down the Telegraph Road. So actually, maybe it's more of a hopeful message. Maybe he's saying he's going to try and either in some way save the town, or he's going to save himself and in a way take a part of the town with him. Just like when people move to one country from another country or from one place to another place, they take a bit of home with them, like a new seed is being planted in the new home. So maybe that's what he means. Because he does talk about, believe in me, baby, I'm going to take you away from out of this darkness and into the day. Out of the rivers of headlights, once again, the idea of sitting in traffic, and into the day. Yeah, that's kind of what I see. Now, before I end this video, I do want to see if this is actually about a specific place or, how this was written, what it's about, that kind of thing. All right, so I'm reading this off of Song Facts. It says, the Telegraph Road is a major north-south 70-mile thoroughfare in Michigan. Knopfler was inspired to write this song while riding in the front of the tour bus, which made the tour, or the journey down the road. At the time, Knopfler was reading the novel The Growth of the Soil, and he was inspired to put the two together, writing a song about the beginning of the development along Telegraph Road and the changes over the ensuing decades. This was a metaphor for the development of America and the ruining of one man's dreams in the wake of its decline, in particular focusing on unemployment. Okay, so I was kind of close. Kind of close. I hope that you all enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for being here. If you've gotten to this point, I appreciate it greatly. If you would do me a favor and just like the video before you leave. You can also comment and let me know your thoughts as well on the track. Did you like it? Did you hate it? Did you kind of fall in the middle? I don't know. You can also follow me on Twitter. You can support the channel on Patreon. Thank you so much as always for being here. And I'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye.